Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're now tuned into the 411 podcast and reading Between the Wines, powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network. More than a podcast, this is a sanctuary for self-discovery, healing, and personal growth. Here, we explore what it means to live debt-free, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Every episode is part of a journey across our weekly mentorship series: Spiritual Sundays, Mental Mondays, Transformational Tuesdays, Wind Down Wednesdays, Coaching Sessions Thursdays, and Financial Fridays. Each day holds space for wisdom, clarity, and real conversation. So grab your journal, pour your glass, and prepare to go beyond the surface. Because here, we don't just talk, we transform. And now, here's your guide through it all, entrepreneur, mentor, and founder of Black Diamond Consultations, Laren Gaines.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome on in. Welcome into Reading Between the Wines. What's going on, everybody? If you're out there, I want to say thank you so much. Please do me a favor. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, text a friend, retweet this video if you're on X. Do whatever you need to do to help support this movement. And in advance, I want to say thank you. We're going to have a good show tonight. We're going to cover a lot tonight. We're going to make a lot of ground here tonight. But before we go ahead and get started, I have to go ahead and give a very special thank you to my executive producer. Thank God for giving me another opportunity to come out here and do what I love. Come out here to connect with like-minded individuals. And on that note, I want to say thank you so much for rocking with me here tonight. Track 31. I paid for everything, and I still got left. There's this common theme that's going on here night after night on this show here. But we're going to go ahead and crack this code. Episode 31. I paid for everything and still got left. Disc 5, Restoration, Reading Between the Wines, Wind Down Wednesday. This is part of the mentorship series. I have a very special guest coming in tonight, author Birdman313. We have some great sessions when he comes in, so I think you should stick around. Stick around, hang around, because it's definitely going to get deep up in here tonight. I do have to say that I want to say that I need to expand on the conversation from last night, because after I left last night, I thought that I might have left something out when it comes to the emergency fund. So I spoke about an emergency fund yesterday when we were dealing with Malik. So we're going to revisit last night's show. I'm going to let you know exactly what, you know, my opinion was. Again, I'm not here to give any personal advice. I'm not here to give any financial advice. I'm just giving real life experience, given from my experience and from helping and coaching people over the years. So everyone who's listening, you need to go ahead and do your own due diligence. This is not some place where you come to get any personal, financial, mental, spiritual. That's not going to happen. So this is just totally educational, and we're here to learn and grow from it, but we're not to take this for face value and run with it. Do your own research. But after I revisit, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. After I revisit last night's show, I do want to clarify what I was speaking about when it comes to the emergency fund, because last night I just gave you a preview of what you need to start an emergency fund, but I didn't get into full detail as far as what an actual emergency fund consists of. So I felt leaving last night that I needed to dig a little bit deeper. So I'm going to give you that tonight. So stick around tonight and I will give you the details of what a fully funded emergency fund might look like. Last night's show, we helped Mr. Malik, 43, from St. Louis, Missouri. He used to be a personal trainer, fell into some hard times, had an injury. I'm not quite sure how long he was out of work, but it seems like it could be about 6 years plus. During that process, he gained a lot of weight, almost 100 pounds overweight. He began this food addiction, pain medication addiction, and just did some unhealthy spending, developed some unhealthy spending habits, and racked up about maybe $32,000 in debt. Most of it was on takeout, Amazon, and of course, his expensive shopping habit. The most disturbing part about it was the self-destructive talk. Yes, life happens. We all go through some things. There's some ups and downs, peaks and valleys in all of our stories. Just pull up a chair, sit down and talk to anybody. I'm sure that they have something going on. But the most destructive thing is walking in fear and speaking ill will over his life. And I want you to go back and watch that replay. I'm not going to dig too much into it, but one thing that I have to say is that I never claimed to be a genius, but I lived long enough to see this. I used to speak terrible things over my life, and I wonder why all hell broke loose and why people disliked me back in the day and why people ran away from me. It's because of my inner dialogue was disaligned or not aligned properly, and then that showed up in the outer world. And of course, everything else, came full circle, and here you are vibrating on a lower frequency. What we think about today will show up in our world tomorrow. So if you do not like the current situation that you're in, if you don't like your current circumstances, then that could be a good indication that we might need to think about our thought process. We might need to think about the way we are thinking. We might need to think about the words that we're speaking over our lives, because words have power. And I know a lot of people, again, I've been there before. Experience is a good teacher, and it takes someone like me to know. I know some people, I work with some people that speak terrible things over their lives. And there's no coincidence when it shows up and it's front and center. We have to be very careful about the things that we speak over our lives. So we can change it. You can change it. Malik can change his situation. But it starts on the thought process. Yes, we might be in $32,000 worth of debt. Yes, you might have, gained extra pounds. Yes, you might have developed some unhealthy habits. But what you think about it, how you feel about it, what you learn from it, and what you speak and what you think as far as your future, it's a game changer. Go ahead and watch that replay. We did help out Malik last night. I put my 2 cents into the situation, if that's what you want to call it. And yeah, it was definitely interesting and a lot of mental work when it comes to building up your mental health and how we think and how we feel about ourselves. Definitely is a big part. It's one of the big pieces that we would need in order to walk during this path here of financial freedom. You got to get your mind together. It's definitely something that we should not take lightly. And I feel that in our community, that's one of the, I feel that a lot of us walk around as if that's the least of their concern. All right, let's get on into this here. This song of the day. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday. I'm sampling some Sauvignon Blanc tonight. It's a nice, warm summer night here, New Jersey, 80 plus degrees. So I figured that this nice white wine definitely would do the trick here tonight. Song of the day, What About Us? From Brandy, released in 1998. As we get into this here on episode 31, I want to ask you, instead of asking what about us, what about you? Because in the long run, when they decide to turn around and do the 180 on you, because it can happen, not saying that it will, but it can happen, we can't get all bent out of shape. We can't be asking 1,000 questions. We can't be, asking these 21 questions. But as we know this, is it you or is it going to be them? Have you ever thought about how many times you tried to buy love? I don't know who I'm speaking to tonight. I'm only speaking from experience. Paid your way or tried to swipe to make it right, only to find out that in reality that it was wrong. Dead wrong. And it will always be. Trust me. Again, ask me how I know. Now, Jennifer Lopez, she warned us with her song, My Love Don't Cost a Thing. And that's because love is priceless. And when you can't read the writings on the wall, we've been there, we talked about it here on this show, Destiny's Child, and you continuously keep trying to pay somebody else's bills, thinking that those action and those steps is what is really going to keep them around. And then that one day, like I said, when they decide to do the 180 on you, not saying that it will happen, but it can happen. You don't want to be like Brandy. You don't want to be asking, what about all of the things that you said? What about all of the promises that you made? What about all of the eyes that you gave? What about all of the things that you told me? What about us? My question is, what about you? In some cases, you might need to be like Dr. Dre, and you might need to ask the question, what's the difference between you and me? And in reality, the answer is nothing. Sometimes we get all caught up, like Usher. And I'm going to leave it like that. I don't think we went from Brandy. We went from Usher. We went to Dr. Dre. We went to Jennifer Lopez. That's enough. Because in reality, it's real. What is the difference between you and me? Is it going to be you or is it going to be them? Why do we have to run around asking, what about us? What about all of these things? What about you told me? What about the promises? What are we doing? How come? If somebody wants to go ahead and walk out and someone wants to leave and someone wants to go ahead and move in a different direction, that's exactly what that means. We need to be set up in such a way that if and when that does happen, we'll become unbothered. We won't be shaken. We won't be moved. Song of the day, What About Us? Brandy, released in 1998 off of her album Full Moon. Now tonight, got a special wine here tonight. We have Vina San Esteban Reserve Sauvignon Blanc 2023. And this says our Sauvignon Blanc was bottled young in order to conserve their fresh, citric, and floral aromas. This wine is beautifully balanced with bright acidity and delicate body. Now, I poured the glass. The aroma is off the chain. I will tell you that. Smells amazing. This wine is from Chile. It's made from 100% Sauvignon Blanc. The average price is about $15 a bottle. The alcohol content is 13%, so very high. The appearance of it, pale straw to light yellow with delicate green highlights, is very bright. The aromas, like I said, as soon as I opened the bottle, thank you so much for joining. As soon as I opened the bottle, crisp lemon lime, fresh melon, green apple, and there are some floral hints in here. Gonna get ready to taste, but the taste testers have experienced dry, a light bodied with bright acidity, lemon, ice, melon, apple, and it has like a smooth, clean finish. And they're saying that you don't really get the oakiness from this. No oak finish. This wine pairs well with shrimp, oysters, citrusy, salads, goat cheese, light fish dishes, summer vegetables. So this is, of course, a good summer wine. This was a great pick. And this is something that is interesting that we found out about this wine here. This is part of the San Pedro Group, one of Chile's major wineries, known for producing approachable wines that reflect value and freshness across its range, including this one that we're sampling here tonight, the Reserve Sauvignon Blanc. It did receive 4 out of 5 stars. This is a solid budget-friendly style wine, great for everyday drinking and with good balance and versatility. So cheers. I want to say thank you all so much for joining in. I'm going to go ahead and sample this and give you my thoughts on this and bring in Mr. Birdman 313. I'll tell you that it's a bold Sauvignon Blanc with that 13%. Um, you don't have to be careful. It's bold. It definitely. Looking at these notes here, I'd say mm, I give it a 3. They gave it a 4. I give it a 3. It's passable. I'll let you know by the end of the show if
What's
I
the
go
name of
ahead and
that
purchase
wine
things.
place we going to Saturday?
What's going on?
Imperial. I don't know why I can't think of that name.
What's going on, Birdman? How
All
are you?
right, how you doing? I'm sorry,
I'm good.
man. I was thinking about something, man.
Nah, I'm good. What's going on? How are you?
All right, man. How's it going with you?
It's going good. It's going good. The heat's finally here.
Hey, man. Before I even say anything, I want to say sorry I didn't contact you Sunday, but Happy Father's Day.
Oh yes. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. I saw your pictures on Instagram. Did you enjoy?
Yes, of course.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I always enjoy Father's Day. Whatever the daughters like to do. It's up to them. I don't get too crazy about it. Some people get crazy about that holiday, but I don't get crazy over that. I don't really get crazy over Mother's Day and all that stuff either. But yeah, I enjoyed my day.
That's good. I'm same way. Even though it's Father's Day, my youngest son, he has a daughter. I always let them choose what they want to do, and they be like, "It's your day, Dad." But I let them choose. I said, "Man, y'all go ahead and
Hmm.
choose." I'm here visiting, so
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, Father's Day. It's like an aftermath. Hell, I didn't even know that people really realized it was Father's Day. But Mother's Day, let me tell you, the bells and the whistles come out. They roll out the red carpet, all types of stuff. I peeped that years
that's been
ago. Father's
yeah,
Day.
that's always been, man. I always say, and no matter how good or how bad the mother is, that's going to be a day everybody celebrate. And you got good and bad dads, but it's just like, okay, just another day.
Right, right, right. Well, we here. Let's wind down Wednesday.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm going to ask you to pick a number. We're going to go from what we doing here tonight. Let's go from 8. That's a quick one. 8 to let's say 150. What we got?
Okay, let me 8 to 150. Okay, let me do 14.
14. Okay, so tonight we're going from the Money Answer book from Dave Ramsey, number 14. Because once we get into this assignment tonight, we have to get into doing the right thing with our money. I spoke about that last night. And buying love, that's not doing the right thing with your money. So I figured that we need to focus on doing the right thing with our money. Now, this is just very random. Page 14. This will help somebody, but this is not on what we're going to be speaking about. But that's okay because we talk about money here. But page 14 is what counts as taxable income, things that you can get taxed on. Among the things that among the things that typically count as income are anything from your employer, so your job when you punch in and punch out, tips, odd jobs, interest, profit on sale of stocks and other investments, profit on the sale of a property. Alimony is taxable. I did not know that. Social Security, which is a shame, but that's another story. Some retirement savings, settlements from lawsuits, lottery or gambling winnings. Among the things that usually don't count as income are scholarships, inherited money, because the estate has already paid taxes on this, and life insurance payouts. Did you learn anything new with that,
No,
Birdman?
I pretty much knew all that, all the stuff I've been through. So I pretty much know. I meant, oh man, it was one of them. Hey, I forgot already. It was one of them that you said I didn't know settlements. I didn't know that was taxable.
Settlements. Yeah, yeah, settlements from lawsuits. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I do remember sitting down with my tax person and they asked me if I had any settlements. Yeah, they do ask me that.
Okay. Wow. Ah, you know,
So,
because I've always, well, I know here in Texas, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, so I'm not gonna say it. I want to be for sure. I want to be for sure when I say it. So
well, they always say that Texas is their own state. I mean, their own country. I don't know why people say that, but whenever I speak about Texas, they always act as if something strange goes on in Texas and they can pretty much make up their own rules. Is that
that is
correct?
so true. They've been wanting to be. They want to be. Right now, they always talking about separating from the rest of the United States.
They say that. Yeah, I heard about that. They just say just go ahead and let Texas go back to what is it, Mexico or
Yeah,
something?
Mexico was on Texas, And you know what? Not only Texas, it was California and Arizona also. But
Uh,
Texas was mostly because when you come here, it's some areas you go to, you think you're in Mexico City.
I can't wait to experience that. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
it's all right. But that's why whenever laws come into place,
Mm-hmm.
it's always arguments about it, and they're like, you already took the land from us, and you're steady trying to take more and more. So there's
Mm.
always something about Mexico and Texas, more so, and then instead of California is. I mean, California is more. I've never heard anything bad about how Mexico feel about California or Arizona. It's just Texas that you hear.
Yeah, yeah. It makes sense. I could see it. Interesting. Huh. Well, we will definitely find out. 2026, I'm going to Texas. I'm putting that out in the atmosphere right now. So we'll see. All right. So, you know, it's that time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to get into tonight's I paid for everything and still got left. We got Miss Renee, 36, from Atlanta, Georgia. She's been listening to the show for the past month, so I appreciate anybody out there that's listening. Thank you so much. If you want to have your scenario, your issue, your questions, whatever brought up here on the show, do me a favor. You can text me 609-200-1098. You can also email me as well, info@larengaines.com. But Renee, 36, from Atlanta, Georgia, has been listening for the past month, and it has helped her see the patterns in her life that slowed her down long. Well, let me back that up. Ladies and gentlemen, let me back that up. Let me just read it the way I'm supposed to. Renee, 36, from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been listening to your show for the past month, and it's helped me see patterns in my life that I never slowed down long enough to admit. I recently got out of a 3-year relationship with a man I thought I was going to marry. Let's call him D. He lost his job in year one, and I stepped up. I covered rent, groceries, his car note, dates, clothes, and even loaned him money for his business venture that never happened. In total, I spent over $22,000 keeping him and us afloat. I told myself it was an investment in love, but then I found out that he was cheating with someone from his gym and moved out without paying me back a dime. Worse, he told our mutual friends that I emasculated him and made him feel like a charity case. Now, I'm not only heartbroken, I'm financially behind in credit card debt and late rent and emotionally drained. I can't help but ask myself, was I being loving or was I just afraid of being alone? I need help healing and rebuilding. How do I bounce back from this and still believe in love without playing the fool again? All right, I'll do that one more time. Let's make sure I get this right. I'm Renee, 36, from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been listening to your show for the past month, and it's helped me see patterns in my life that I never slowed down long enough to admit. I recently got out of a 3-year relationship with a man I thought I was going to marry. Let's call him D. He lost his job in year one, and I stepped up. I covered rent, groceries, his car note, dates, clothes, and even loaned him money for his business venture that never happened. In total, I spent over $22,000 keeping him and us afloat. I told myself it was an investment in love, but then I found out he was cheating on me with someone from his gym and he moved out without paying me back a dime. What's worse, he told our mutual friends that I emasculated him and made him feel like a charity case. Now I'm not only heartbroken, I'm financially behind in credit card debt and late rent and emotionally drained. I can't help but ask myself, was I being loving or was I just afraid of being alone? I need help healing and rebuilding. How do I bounce back from this and still believe in love without playing the fool again? All right, Birdman. This is a lot, so I'll let you go ahead and get us started with this.
Yeah, that's kind of mind twisting because oh, if she, most people would tell her, she's paid the rent, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she had to pay no matter where she lived at. Did they have an agreement of, were they splitting the rent? He lost his job within the first year. It seems like she just stepped in without thinking, or no, she was thinking that she was in love and they was gonna get married. And to me, I think they moved in too quickly together because she was just looking for someone to love, and she would pay out just to keep that person around. And I mean, I may be saying it wrong, but I mean, this is how I looked at that because I was reading. I said you can go several different ways with this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
What she's talking about. Because if she went in front of the judge said you're gonna pay rent anyway for where you live at. You're gonna buy, you're gonna buy food anyway for yourself. The car note is on you. After maybe I'm giving her too long, but after 6 months, if he hasn't found a job by then and you still paying his car note, it's on you. As far as the clothes, that's a gift. And I mean, anybody will tell you that's a gift, unless she bought clothes for him for his job. Then she might have a small case, or argument. But she really don't have an argument on anything. And the business venture, I mean, you know, if she was giving him money for his business venture, but she wasn't seeing anything progressing, then why did she keep giving it money for the business?
Mm-hmm.
And most guys, when they go to the gym, they take their girlfriends or their wives with them. I just said most. So meeting somebody at the gym, that I mean, she should have known that, man. Because I mean, going to the gym now, man, and you see what everybody is wearing, man. It's nothing but a trap. That's all it is. It's a trap, man. Because it's just some of the people out there is just wide open, and you know what they're looking for.
Hmm.
So I fought her on a lot of scenarios because, like I said, any judge would tell her, well, you had to pay where you live anyway. You had to, you was going to buy groceries for you. But if y'all had an agreement in writing that he would pay half, go half on the rent and half on the groceries, then she would have a good argument there.
I like the part where you said you would have to pay rent anyway. We all have to pay rent, so I agree with that. Um, I'm gonna take it back to the top. Let's take it back to the top. This is but I like that part. That you got me thinking. You just gonna have to pay rent anyway. So I'm gonna just start it off like this. I can't. I can, but I won't. I can say certain things, but I won't because now we're in this weird time where we have to be careful with the things that we say, and I don't want to offend anybody. Um,
Yes.
but I used to be a type of giver, just put it that way, a type of giver where I would give somebody something and then try to take it back. Now, if back in the day, we used to call that a certain term, but we can't do that now. I mean, we can, but I won't. But I used to be
Right.
that type of giver.
Right.
So I was speaking to my mentor in 2019, telling her about my life and how I used to be. And she said, Laren, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Please share the video. Um, she said, Laren, when you give from the heart and expect nothing in return. And she had to continuously keep speaking to me about that. Laren, when you give something from the heart and expect nothing in return. So it took me a while to get over when somebody did something to me, just like this scenario here, when a relationship didn't work out. My first instinct was be that type of giver where I want all my stuff back. I learned that from my dad. Happy Father's Day. I want all my
Yeah.
stuff back.
Yes.
So that's where I learned it from. You know, more is caught than more is taught. So you can leave, but guess what? I want all my stuff back. I used to be that type of giver, and she kept drilling in me. That's not love, because when you give, it's because you love somebody, but you give from the heart, but you expect nothing in return. That means if somebody wants to do the 180 on you today or tomorrow, you have to be okay with whatever you gave because you gave from the heart. And if you're giving, like you said, it's a gift. I like that. You brought us home with that. You said that's a gift. Those clothes, you was going to have to pay the rent anyway. You was going to eat anyway. You fed somebody. You did God's work. They didn't have money. You fed them. Now, if you went out and did expensive dining and all that stuff, then that's on you. But you did that. The car note, I don't get that though. I don't think I'm paying anybody's car note.
Only reason well, I look at it like this: if they're together, and that's why I was that's the part now that one there kind of caught me, and I'm like, well, maybe I can help you, but it's gonna only be for a certain period of time. That's why I said 6 months is too long. What for me, I would think 6 months is too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, come on, I mean, he couldn't get his unemployment. I mean, have something coming in so
Yeah.
that because the car is not in her name, so she really didn't have to pay anything.
Mm.
And if he got mad, then hey, that's just too bad. Um, my mom used to tell me that too. When you give from the heart. And my mom said, like, if you give somebody money, you don't expect it back. When people say loan, you already know. You 9 times out of 10, you ain't getting it back.
You
So
know.
I tell people, don't ask me for a loan. Just say, hey, do you have this? Because I know doggone well you're not gonna pay me back, because I've seen people loan people money, and then when they say they're gonna pay it back, and then when it comes around to paying it back, they ducking and dodging and turning their head. So like I tell my boys that all the time. I said, man, don't ask me for a loan. Just say, hey, dad. And I try to teach them that, because if they get in that situation, just tell somebody. Don't ask me. Just say, hey, do you have this to give me? Because 9 times out of 10, they say a loan they gonna pay you back. You ain't getting it back, and you gonna have more headaches trying to get it back than if you just gave it to them. And whatever they do with it, that's on them. Once you give it to them, my mom used to always say that whatever they do with it, hey, that's on them.
You
So
are you are so right with that, and I didn't know that, but I did have some issues when people didn't pay back, and I remember more is caught than more is taught, but I realize that now. And most recently, I learned when you give somebody something like money, when they ask for money, don't expect them to pay back. Now, if you don't have it to give, you can simply tell them, I don't have it to give. But if you do have it to give, that's just you doing God's work. You go ahead and you give them that money, and whatever they do with it is what they do with it. You can't dictate
Exactly.
what somebody's going to do with the money. Oh, I can't give you this because I know you're going to go out drinking. I know you're going to go out smoking. I know you're going to do whatever. And I've used this scenario. You cannot get in between God's plan. He might have used you as a vessel to give that person that money to go and blow it however they wanted to do it. And because you allowed them to get that money and they went out and they got high, they went out and they got drunk, they went out and did whatever, that could be the last opportunity for them to get their lives together. And he used you to go ahead and give them the money so that they can get their life together.
Exactly.
So I
You
like.
know, and like you said, the dates, that's a gift too, because you know, I mean, and I know is there maybe be some people say, hey, let's go out, but you have to pay, you know, but she, she's, you know what, I was listening to a few songs. One of them is Tina Turner. You know what
Oh,
love has to do with it.
you will check
I
this out.
just, huh?
Well, after you get finished, I'm gonna tell you what Tina Turner song I was thinking of. Go ahead.
Okay, and you know it's true. What love have to do with it? You know, and that brings back. That's in a whole lot of things. You know, and that seems like that's what he was saying to her. What love has to do with it? That's
Okay,
how I look at it. You know,
now
and I
check.
might be looking at it opposite, the wrong direction, but that's how I felt. How he looked at it.
Okay, now she turned around and asked this question. I need help healing and building, but how do I bounce back from this and still believe in love without playing the fool again? You know, there's two songs. Um, what Tina Turner had that song with Ike Turner, Just a Fool in Love.
Yes,
That one. And then there's another song. Who tell me who sings this one? It takes a fool to know that love don't love nobody.
spinners.
Okay, there you go. Two songs.
Hey,
That's
and I was getting, you know what? It's funny because I was getting ready to bring that up too. About the spinners have this, love don't love no one. That's what it is.
well. We just getting into this letter. I'm gonna say that Renee, you were playing a fool because you were just said you ended a 3 year relationship. Now, how did
Yeah.
you end a 3 year relationship and he lost his job within the first year? I don't understand that. 3 years. So you basically put up with this for 2 years of just carrying a load, paying rent, groceries, car notes, dates, clothes, and giving money for a business venture.
Hey, you know what? I thought about that. I'm like, old dude was laying in the bushes to find somebody who would take care of him. That's all. That's how I looked at it. I'm like, oh man, that's this dude laying in the bushes for someone to come along and and do this. And who knows, he might have been getting his unemployment, but he's not telling her, and he's out here playing around.
Laying in the bushes. I'm writing that down. You know I'm writing that down. Laying
Yeah,
in the bushes. I'm writing that down.
yeah, laying in the bushes, just waiting for to run across somebody. And you know what? The sad part about this is, I actually know people who's done that, and
Mm.
I know people who've done it. And one of the guy, he was an older guy from my hometown that did that, but the chick turned the tables on him when she caught him in the middle of the street. He was in the barbershop getting his hair done,
Mm-hmm.
and she walked in the barbershop. And he had his girlfriend with her, and she said, "So the Cadillac I bought you, you riding her around?" I guess so. She just told the girl. I mean, this is in the barbershop. You know how men barbershops is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She told the gal, she said, "Oh, you can sit here and watch what's getting ready to happen." And she told the barber, she said, when you get through with his hair, she said, "Hey, you need to step outside." And when he was like, it was funny because the barber told people by it, said he was asking for a back door. And she said, "There's only one door in." you know, he stepped outside. Hey man, the funny part about it was he went and had somebody to call the police. The police came up there and she told them what was up. You know what the police did? Said, handle it the way you want to handle it. She said, cool. She reached in her purse, and when he stepped outside, she said, now you gonna get out of all them clothes that I bought you. You gonna
Wow.
hand me the keys to this car. Yeah, I'm talking about, man, hey man, we was at the park shooting ball and people was running down there. Oh man, y'all to see what's happening. So we dropped the ball, we go down there. He's in the middle of the street just in his underwears.
I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen in Walmart where people would just be like, take them off, take it off now. That's my stuff. I bought it. Take it off now.
Yes. And then we were standing there, people was laughing and clowning him so bad. He ended up moving away from from our hometown, man.
Yeah, I
And she
figured so.
she said, oh, you can take y'all can go out now. She said, walk on down the street with them drawers because I don't want them. you know, and she said, but you can't come to my house. Give me the house keys, give me the car keys.
Wow. Mm.
I mean, hey man, this is like, like 5 o'clock in the evening, man. And people riding by, they honking, they laughing, they clowning him. It wasn't nothing he could say.
The cop said, handle it the way you want to handle it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh,
And hey man, and next thing you know, he did nobody see him. They said, oh well, they said after what happened, he moved out.
I'd see. Yeah, I would too.
You know, but that's when I like I said, that like you said, she was with this guy for 3 years, and it took her. And I know sometimes it do take us a little longer to see what's really going on. And the bad thing about it was there was no kids involved. Now, if there was kids involved, they was his kids involved. I could see her kind of sticking around, but
the, the,
no kids involved. No, she needs to just move on and but not don't jump into a relationship right away because you know what, that person she gets with, she gonna treat him the same way.
you are so right about that. It takes you a while to learn your lesson. Um, this is a prime example. My mentor always says when you first meet somebody, you're going to learn everything that you need to know about them within the first 30 days. They're going
Yeah,
to sing you a lullaby. They're going to tell you everything you need to know as long as you're listening. But most of the time, we're not listening because our flesh gets the best of us and we want to do what we know how to do. Okay.
exactly.
And that love bug, those hormones, like Missy Elliott says, dropping like a disco,
Right.
um, they stay active for the first 2 years when you meet somebody new. You could be married for I don't know how long. You could be in a relationship for I don't know how long. And all of a sudden, if you meet somebody new and that love bug hits you, it's going to captivate you and have you twisted for the first 2 years. And it takes about 2 years for it to wear off, especially when you start getting intimate with somebody. It's going to be hot and heavy because it's new, it's exciting for the first 2 years. So usually we make mistakes within the first 2 years. We get married, we have children, we get engaged, we sign apartment leases, and we move in. And then that's when all hell breaks loose because once that love bug hormone wears off within the first 2 years, now you look up and be like, well, who the hell is you and how the hell do I get you out of here? I didn't know what was going on. That love bug worn off. So
Yeah.
3 years, this makes sense. So it was popping off. It was exciting. It was new within the first, and then he lost his job. So he was laying it down for the first year, and then
Yeah.
by look what happened 3 years later. All of a sudden it wore off, and then guess what?
Yeah.
We
Yes.
realized he didn't meet nobody at that gym. He had somebody at that gym way before. She just was so caught up she didn't even realize it. Poss-
Exactly. I
Possibility.
mean, no, hey man, you said it right, man. She, I didn't think about that, but it was somebody he had been, hollering at off and on. She might have had somebody on the side, and then he would, and then he was with this gal, living with her, but she had somebody on the side, and probably when she got rid of the one guy, then I guess he thought he would go ahead and get tight with her, but then she gonna realize she made a mistake.
Here's the mistake. Whenever you invest into something, it's just a bad investment. Now, you didn't get a return on your investment. It's terrible. Guess what? I've been there before plenty of times. I understand and I know.
Yeah,
$22,000 worth of debt. Hey, you got off easy. I know that that's a lot to some people, but whenever
yeah.
that
No,
happens,
you're right. That little bit there, that's just a drop in the bucket, because you know what, you was gonna spend that money. You was gonna spend that money anyways, because you want to. You was just gonna. Oh man, I'm all kind of tangled up with this. You are gonna spend that money anyway,
I
and so like everybody. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, because everybody don't. I was thinking about what main ingredients say. Everybody plays the fool
mm,
sometimes, and I don't know. You know who main ingredients is?
I'm writing it down now, but I know that song. Sometimes I know the songs, but I don't know the artist. But I know
Okay,
that
yeah,
song.
they call main ingredients, and that
I
was a
got.
song about everybody plays the fool, and
Mm-hmm.
and she was that one. She didn't see it because she thought she was so in love. She thought he was in love, but he really wasn't in love. Like I said, he found him someone that he could use, and just take advantage of. And it's sad, but it happens every day. And she got
Yeah,
to look
yeah.
at, okay, this is a loss. What? And then she got to sit back and take time and say, how can I not get in this trap again?
That right, that part right there. Because when we make these mistakes, we make a bad investment. We don't get a return on our investment. Things don't turn out the way we need. We need to sit back. And I think you mentioned this earlier. Like, don't jump into a next
Yes.
relationship. Like, I was that one. Boop, boom, jump into a next one.
Yeah.
Up, searching for the next one, looking for the next one. But I didn't learn my lesson until God was like, nope, I'm shutting all this down. I'm shutting it all down to the fact where you can't even do. I would try to do things and it would be blocked. And I would think I was doing something else again and it would be blocked. And I think that I meet somebody else and it'd be blocked. You will not learn your lesson until you sit down and get with yourself, because everything starts with self, and you ask yourself, now, what was the lesson that I was supposed to learn here today? And I think that's the biggest thing that helped me get my life together, is because I had to ask myself, all right, this situation happened. What was I supposed to learn here?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of us, our lives would be a heck of a lot better if we took some time to pause, took some time to get with ourselves, cut off all of the noise, get off of social media, get off of the apps, get off of whatever it goes on in this world when it comes to this dating world, and just ask yourself, it's said and done. Now, what is it that I was supposed to learn from this interaction here? This person that I met that went south, this situation that I in that went sour. What's the lesson that I'm supposed to learn?
I think we all, cause like I know before I got with Diana, I got an apartment by myself, and when I say by myself, my sons, they wasn't living with me. No one was living with me, but me, and I had a little pet chihuahua. And
Mm-hmm.
I some there was times, and I know some people laugh when I say this. I sat in there and I was crying, because I was like, hey man, how did I get myself in this situation? All the opportunities I had, and I just let it blow on by. And I was sitting, I would listen to music, and I would write. And then I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna sit back for a while and not do anything and just take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was unemployed, you know, but I had my own apartment though. But I was unemployed. It was rough, man. I struggled and I struggled, but it made me a stronger person.
Yeah, that sounds that was your therapy right there. Getting because listen, if you can't be good with yourself, how could you be good and cohabitate and work with
Right.
somebody
And
else?
then well, I was introduced. It was my cousin's husband introduced me to this. It was an internet program, and he, I had my own show and everything. It was called Poetry and Music, and I was doing well with that. I started gaining a lot of people coming on there. But then come to find out he was messing over us because we had to pay so much money a month. And he slipped up and said something. When he slipped up and said something, I'm like, you know what? I must got fool written across my forehead because it seems like this is what he's trying to take me for.
Mm.
And I mean, I wasn't with nobody. I had and then I was a friend I was talking to, but then I see she wasn't one of those type of friends you would take home to mama, you know. And and I was helping her start a business, and I'm like, all I'm doing is putting myself in the same situation again. So I
Mm-hmm.
backed away,
Mm-hmm.
and I just said, nah, I'm done with it. And like I told Diana, if I hadn't met her, hey man, I'd have went out in California, and I just would have went out there, and whatever happened. I got in because I had a Jeep at the time. I just got in it and rode out there. Didn't know nobody, because my cousins, my cousins that were out there, they all passed away, and I just say I'll start from scratch again because I felt like that's all I was doing, starting over. And my dad used to always tell me, he said, every time you move, you lose. He said, when
I
you,
remember you saying that.
yeah, he
Yeah.
said, because he said, look at it like this. He said, every time you move, you're losing something. He said, you may not see it, but you're losing something. And he said, you got to start over. So you got to buy furniture all over again. Even though you got furniture, you got to buy it all over again.
Mm.
And I was at that point, man, where because both of my parents had passed away by then, and I was thinking about all the things that my parents was telling me, and I said I should have listened to them. And then when I met Diana, it was, we talked, and we had a lot in common, even though she was born in a little country town in Texas, and I was born in up north. A lot of the sayings was the same, and we just got along. But when I met her, I never forget. I was going to a festival, and she said, "Oh, I'm not paying for that," and I said, "I didn't ask you to," you know. No, and I understood what she meant by then. She's not in it for the money. She was looking for
Mm.
a stable somebody to be with, and I was going to the festival because I was going to go, but the first year I was going, my mom passed away, and I just wouldn't. I wasn't ready for it. And so the next year, I was talking about it, and when she said, "I'm not paying for it," I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm trying to figure out where this come from." I said, "No, I'm gonna pay for the festival. I'm gonna pay for the gas, the hotel, the food. I'm gonna figure out a way." And
Mm-hmm.
you know, we it was rough the first. it was rough the first year, but then everything started smoothing out because she said to me one thing. She said, "Do you love yourself?" And I said, "Hell no." And then she said, "Go into the in that bathroom, look in the mirror every day and say you love yourself just the way you are." Hey man, I did that and I still do it sometimes. I still do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that helped me out so much. And now her and our relationship is smooth. We enjoy being around each other, going places, and I just said, wow, man, this is the best part of my life, And she do. She invests in me by helping me with my poetry, helping me with my videos, helping me go to places. If I don't have the money, she'll like, hey, well, I help you with the gas, or I help you with the hotel, or I help you with the food. But you need to go there and do what you do.
You know what I say is that you spending time with yourself allowed you to get on a different frequency. And because of that, you were able to align and meet the person that you were supposed to meet.
Yeah,
When we don't take that time for self, like you spoke about taking that time for yourself, that's how everything aligned properly. It's meant to be that way. When we jump from this, that, the next, the other, and make these decisions without taking time to pause and reevaluate our situation and look at our lives, then we don't operate on the right frequency and things don't click. So, great situation. You met somebody that could actually help you, you know, get to the next level, and you help her with certain things that she needs, and it makes sense. It makes sense. But again, you can't get there unless you take care of yourself.
yeah.
And
And see,
and
this
and
lady here is in a one-sided affair, and she didn't even see it.
and that's another part there. When people think that they're in a relationship, so I've heard somebody say, "I wasn't in no relationship. You was in a relationship, but I wasn't in one." You ever
Exactly.
heard people say
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
Now, this part is ridiculous here. Okay, you spent the money, you did the clothes, jewelry, cars, business ventures, rent, all that stuff, paid for dates, $22,000. Somebody's cheating, somebody's not cheating. It is what it is. It happens.
Yeah.
Our mutual friends say that I emasculated him. That's a problem. They're not your friends.
Right.
If they were not your friends before, and these are friends that you met during the relationship, sorry to say that they're not your friends.
Exactly. And
You don't have to.
when I heard that, I'm like, man, I mean, like, you know what, man? I hate to say it, but my first wife did that to me, and she did that to me. But it's funny because a lot of people from my hometown they said, "Oh, we know how he is. He ain't nothing like that." But she tried to
Mm.
go to, but then I had some friends that was down here. They quit speaking to me, man. And I was like, it didn't bother me none because people had stopped speaking to me long time ago. It was like, oh, okay, then I'm going on about my business and I'm
I
just
had
doing my thing.
I had a similar situation. My friends were like, "Yo, I can't believe I get all these DMs and all this stuff. I blocked this one, I blocked that one."
Yeah,
The real the real friends that know me, they stuck around, and I appreciate y'all. It is what it is. But we've been through that.
yeah.
I get it.
And
Yeah,
that,
they always
how old is she? Did she say how old she is?
36.
Well, see, well, man, oh, wow. She should know better.
No, no, no. Now listen, I didn't learn until I turned
Yeah,
40.
yeah. Oh, I was 50. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is, when I say she should know better, she should have seen the signs or some of it,
It
because
was
I'm
that
quite sure he wasn't the first guy she had been with that did her this way. And maybe,
it,
and I had one lady tell me one time, she said, you like to be treated this way. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah. She said, you like to be treated this way because you keep finding the females that's like this. And I thought about that, man. And I think about I'm like, wow, man, that makes a lot of sense. That the way he was treating her, that's the kind of guys she like.
You're so right with that, because if you don't like it, then you'll do something different. And and I'll listen, I'll put myself out there. I continuously keep attracting. I have, let me make sure I word that properly, because words have power. But in the
Yeah.
past, I have continuously attracted the same personality over and over and over again. Yeah, this relationship is done, but the next person that I fall head over heels, you keep reminding me about the past stuff that I've been through. So it wasn't until recently that I said, "Oh, I could see it now."
Yeah.
Now I see that this is a game, and you just the next one that's showing up. But you just like you reminded me so much of this other stuff. But now I just have to say thank you so much, because now I know how to play this game. And the minute that I don't fall into this trap, the next best thing is coming up. See, sometimes things are a test. So, like that woman said, that you like that if you fall into the trap, that yeah, you like it. You like it if you fall into the trap. But if you see it and you be like, nah, I never claimed to be a genius, but I lived long enough to see this. I remember this joint right here.
Eh,
And this personality, this person like it, I'm not fooling with it. You ain't going to trick me again.
yeah. And you know the funny part was I was the counselor and she was counselor. She was throwing it back at me. And I'm like, wow. And I said, hey, and then I asked her, I did ask her, I said, well, how you figure this? I haven't really told you anything. She said, because she said, sometimes when I see you, you're calm and everything. And then she said, there's other time you seem agitated. And I'm like, really? And she was like, yes. I didn't see that, but she saw it.
Mm.
And I mean, that did. I mean, like I said, I would go, I ain't gonna lie to you, I would go to my apartment when it had no lights on, put some incense on, put some music on, and just sit and just think and say, hey, how can I better myself? And sometimes, like I said, man, there's been times when I actually shed tears, and I was like, you know what? I need to stop feeling sorry for myself, and I need to put, get it together so I don't keep going through these same old changes again.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Now, like you said in the beginning, this is mind twisting. This is just too much. I,
Yes.
I'm a label this tonight is just too much, because it's a lot going on here, and we don't know. We just scratching the surface from what we see here. I say that there needs to be some healing when it comes to spiritually, because you need to get Renee needs to get grounded. She doesn't know who she is. People pleaser, digging in her pockets, paying for people, paying for this, paying for that. When you don't know who you are, you will basically allow people to shape and mold you into whoever, whatever that works for them, and that's exactly what it is. And when people do the 180 on you, you blacking out. You asking questions like, what about this? What about that? Like I said at the top of the show, that's a sign of somebody who doesn't know who they are. Because if you know who you are, when someone walks out on you, you'll let them go, because you'll know that that's good for you. You
Yeah,
can't hold on to people. You can't keep somebody who don't want to be kept.
that's
And
true.
you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Let's just keep it
Yes,
real.
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that.
Like,
But
and and where you met, and it didn't say where she met him at, because wherever you meet them, that's the same way you're gonna lose them. How you
exactly.
got them, same way you're gonna lose them. So I don't know. Was Renee at the gym? It don't say that. Was she the
Right.
one? I have no idea. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So it is mind twisting. There's a lot going on here. Yes, there's debt. And I get that it's not nice when we go through these things. But like you said, everybody plays the fool. Sometimes life happens, and sometimes it happens so that we can learn. So the fact is that we spent this, we did that. Did we learn from it? Are we doing something different? What are we doing now to move on? And she's asking, how do we bounce back and still believe in love? I'm going to tell you this: believe in yourself, but love yourself first before you can love somebody else.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the
And that's why I'm saying that's the steps that, like I said, when Diana said, go look in the mirror every day. And I did. And she said, until you start feeling good about yourself, she said, then she said, you can love others. And for me, I can say it worked. I can say that.
I can say it too, because before I couldn't say that. Before 2020, and when I looked in the mirror, I didn't like the person that I saw.
Yeah,
Now today,
exactly.
I look in the mirror and I love the person that I see, and I speak that to myself, and it's just totally it's mind blowing, mind
Yeah,
boggling, and it's like if I knew what I knew back then, I wouldn't. But then again, maybe I wouldn't be here today. Who
right.
knows?
But it's part of learning, though. And that's why I always say now. I said, well, because I've had a lot of people talk to me because they said, well, oh, you good with words? I'm like, yes, but still, I said, this is part of life, part of living. I said, this is the growing up that you do. And I said a lot of times I write about the things, and it's in there, but I cover it up with certain words, And I said, being outdoors, being at the beach by the waters has really relaxed me a lot. Being in parks, being like Japanese gardens,
Mm,
I find a lot of inspiration. And when I write a poem, I'm releasing a whole lot of anger. And I'm not angry no more. There's nothing to be angry about. I don't even get mad no more. Now
that's what.
you'd have caught me 10 years ago. Oh man, you'd been saying, "Oh, this guy here is straight off crazy."
Who you talking to? Who are you talking to? I told one of my friends. I said, listen, when I'm in a relationship, there will be no back and forth. And my kids say sometimes, how is that possible for you to be in a relationship and there will be no back and forth? I'm like, do you forget like who I was? Like I've done enough going back and forth. I've done enough screaming and cussing, hollering, carrying on, that there will be none of that.
Right.
And like my mentor says, when you don't got to worry about that, Laren, because after all that you've been through, now you're gonna know how to pick them.
Yeah. And
So
even sometimes now, I'll get ready to go off, and Diana will say, "Take a walk." Take a walk. Or she said, "Let it go. Don't say it, because once you say it, you can't take it back."
and that is so true. That is so true.
So
Have power.
yeah, and so there, and like I said, the last time I really was on the edge had to do with this last book. I would walk through the house and hit straight outdoor. I would look at her and I'd be like, "Ugh," and then I'd walk straight out the door. And she said, "Chill out, chill out." She said, "Give it to
Mm,
God." And she would tell me that all the time. I go outside, take some deep breath, walk around in the yard, look at the banana trees, look at the peach
no,
trees,
that's awesome.
and just look at,
You got all
and
that.
then
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And so then I would take a deep breath, and sometimes I would stand by the gate where our vehicles are parked there, and I would just hold on to the gate, and I would just close my eyes, or I'll look up in the sky, and then I'll say, because I wrote a poem about this not long ago about eyes in the sky, and I was always saying, I see my mom, I see my dad, and I see God's eyes looking down on
Mm,
me. And I come on back in and I sit down. She don't bring nothing up. We'll talk about what's going on. And she said, "Hey, just let it work itself out." I'm like, okay. And then I'm done
yeah,
with it.
like they said, let go and let God.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we don't have to
Yeah.
do things, and that's the problem. We get involved and we think we doing something, and we want to move mountains and we want to make things work, but let go and let God. And I've learned this trust and believe. I've learned my life have turned around completely because I was always the person who had something to say, was always ready to go upside somebody's head, was always had to have the last word, always had to tell you about yourself. But you know what? Be still
Yeah.
and know that I am God. You are absolutely right because I know that I am not him. I'm not you. So I'm gonna get out the way and let you do what you need to do. And miracles have changed in my life.
And see, this late, her name Renee, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What she needs to do is take time and not want to be in a relationship for a while, just be in a relationship with
Holla at your
herself.
boy. I know what you're talking about.
And it seems like, because I seen that where the question is, be to yourself no matter how long it takes. If it takes 2-3 years, just be to yourself, and don't take anything somebody want to give you that's gonna hurt you.
Mm,
Just be to yourself, and let people know, man. I've had in the past, I've had females say, "Well, I need time," and I'm like, "Okay, cool, I understand." A lot of time I tell them, I say, I wasn't talking to you because I want to be with you. I'm just talking. I said, but I do understand. And sometimes it's just best to get to yourself and be to yourself and not be in a relationship. And I do have quite a few friends that, you talk to them and they say, oh, no, I ain't dating nobody because I'm trying to get myself together mentally, physically, financially,
I
and
know that's
spiritually.
right.
And I'm like, I said, well, that's cool, And then I thought about that because I used to pray about that. And so then I said, well, you know what? These are things I need to do to take, to get myself back together without going, I always say left field, without going left field. And I tell people that when they talk about it, I've been hurting, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you know what? Join the party because you know what? We all been hurt.
This life, yeah, yeah. It ain't nothing personal. It ain't just
Yeah.
happening to you. You ain't, like I said before, you ain't the only one. Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, to wrap this up, because what is it? What type of last advice do you have for Miss Renee here tonight? I'm gonna let you close it up.
She just need to get to herself and don't think about being in no relationship but with herself. And, get herself together mentally, physically, financially, and spiritually. And things, like you said, the right person to come along. And don't be so quick to open up your pocketbook or your bank
Mm,
card. Hold back on that. Don't, and that's something else I do not let. When if somebody was to ask me anything about finances, then I know you up to no good. Oh no, I'm not telling you nothing. And if that's the first thing that come out their mouth about how much money you make, you don't want that person.
I feel you. I feel you. I'm a be. Beg to differ just a little bit now. Now, fill me out. And we gonna close this up now. Now, you said don't be
Yeah,
so quick to open up your pocketbook and all that stuff. I agree. Now, I'm going to say this, don't be so quick to open up your heart. Now, the Bible says that the heart is the most wicked thing that's on your body. It will lead you astray. And people say, oh, trust your heart. SWV has a song called I think it's Use Your Heart or Use Your Heart and Not Your Mind. I don't know. Whatever. Something like that.
yeah,
Don't. It's a trick. Be careful of that heart. That heart is the most wicked thing on your body. It will get you all twisted up and wrapped up and trapped up. So, like you said, don't be so quick to open up your pocket. Don't be so quick to open up your heart because it could be used and twisted. And now you in a situation. Now, once you get your life together, once you spend time with yourself, once you start to know who you are, once you become spiritually aligned, once you get your mental state together, do you want to be wrapped up and trapped up with someone who's financially unstable? Now, I can only speak from experience because as I start to enter into this dating world now that I've got myself together, I did it the wrong way, swiping left and right, Tinder, this, that, the next, yeah, and all them apps got off of that. Absolutely not. We're not doing that. So now you meet somebody in the real world. I want to question and ask because I got myself in a better position. I'm not saying that I made it, but I'm in a better position. I'm not going to be so quick to attach myself to the same stuff that I used to attach myself to. So, is it wrong asking somebody if you're financially on point? What your credit score look like? Do you have a good job? What are your aspirations? What is your long-term goals versus your short-term goals? If someone asks that question, is that necessarily the wrong thing?
It depends on when they ask you. That's how I should have put it, because there's times when somebody asks you, if they ask you before they really get to know you, then kind of like I feel like, okay, what is it you after? You after my money, or you want to be with me? That's
No, I
just
know what
me,
you're
man.
saying.
You
I
know,
know
I
what you're
can't,
saying. I get you.
you know,
I know what you mean.
because I've had people ask me, and when I used to say, hey, I'm financially cool. And they said, what you driving? Whoa, whoa,
Yeah, yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa. Why you gotta know what I'm driving? Where you live at? Hey, wait a minute, hold up.
yeah.
I know I know that's not the person I want to talk to, because when you start getting deep
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that, then it's more that you're trying, you want to be, and I understand being with somebody, you want to be with somebody stable, you
yeah.
do. But it's just certain things you don't
You're
ask.
right. I guess the right
And
time for me too.
and no, when I used to DJ, I used to park my car, where nobody could notice it, because it was an old raggedy car. And people used to, thought I was riding in something real new, to one day dude say, man, that's your car way out there. I'm like, yeah. Oh man, I thought you riding in a caddy or something
Of
like that.
course,
And
of
I'm
course
like,
they did.
okay, yeah,
Because a lot of people think that just because of what you drive and what you wearing, all that stuff, that means you got money. You be very careful. I'm telling you, people out there, those people that be
yeah,
driving in just regular everyday cars, people that just got regular everyday clothes on. Be, I'm telling you, just peep that. All I'm saying, those be the ones
yeah.
who have it, not the ones. Remember that story you said about the girl who was working the streets, and she said, "Yeah, my customers know I ain't messing with nobody who got a fancy car like that because that mean that they broke."
Right, right, right. And I always call them trap questions. I said, man, this is a trap question. And they'd be like, what you mean? I said, what you mean what I mean? I said, you didn't understand what I meant by, what I said? But yeah, and I've always thought like that, man. I had female, oh, you ain't no good. Why I'm not no good? Are you, because the type of vehicle you riding? And okay, then cool, I ain't no good.
Right,
Bye. I'm good
right,
with
right,
that.
right. Miss me with all of that.
Yeah.
All right, well,
But but like I said, you just gotta take time away. Spend 6 months by yourself, at least 6 months by yourself, to think about what you want, and you don't want to fall in that trap again. Because if you wait like 2-3 weeks and get with somebody else, and they gonna peep out, they gonna see it real quickly, the things, and you ain't gonna even be they ain't gonna even you don't even have to tell them, because they can see it in what you
mm,
say. So at least 6 months, you take time away. I know some people say a year.
well, yeah.
Take a year by yourself, so that way you can get all that out your system, and you can start over.
Well, I got so many songs I'm writing down, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna list them
Well,
all by the end of the show. I've been sitting here writing. Um, by the end of the show, I'm listing all of these songs, and
and you know what? You mentioned, you said that song "What About Us"
uh
by
huh,
Brandy. When you first said that, I was thinking about the one, that Pink song.
that came up in my category. What is that? What is that one?
It's What About Us? That was one of
I'm
her
trying.
hit records. I don't know
I'm
what
trying to
year
figure
it
out.
was, but every time I hear, I
I'm trying to
like it, because I was like, man, who is that singing that? And I got the app on, Shazam. Oh, that's Pink. I'm like, oh, I didn't know she jammed
Oh
like
yeah,
that,
I love
but
Pink.
I listened
I'm
to
trying to
that.
figure out how it go
Yeah,
though. What about us?
huh?
I
She
have
did
to I have to figure out the melody.
2017. That's when it
I
came out.
I, I know
What
what you
About
mean.
Us?
I gotta check the melody. I'm gonna play that.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing show. I just want to let you know when we come in here, nothing is scripted. We just go through and we do what we do, and it's just a mystical experience here tonight. If you want to chime in, please text me at 609-200-1098. You can also email me at info@larengaines.com. You can DM me on any other social media platforms. It should work on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Those platforms you can DM me and let me know how you feel about tonight's show. We're going to get into the burning questions. I'm going to take a spin on it and do it a little bit differently because we pretty much summed it up here tonight. This is a rhetorical question for each and every one of you out there tonight. I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm only speaking from experience. I've been there before. I'm not sure if you have, but when you can relate to Miss Renee, you've been there before. I've been there before. Birdman has been there before. Did you call it love, or was it really fear dressed in generosity? A fear of, oh, I'm going to be alone. Somebody's going to say something about me. Oh, I'm this specific age and I'm single. All of my friends at work, they're in relationships. All of my family members, they're in relationships. My brothers, my sisters, my aunties and uncles. It means something when someone is, wrapped up in, I call it trapped up in a relationship. It means something when you're engaged. It means something when you're married. Comparing yourself to the next person, not knowing who you are, is that love or is it really fear dressed in generosity, especially when you digging in your pocket, especially when you are lowering yourself to big somebody else up? Birdman, can you chime in on this? When people call it love, when they
Oh
call
yeah.
it love, but it's just based.
It's not love. You know what? It's oh man, I lost the word of what I gonna say. Infatuation.
I'm writing that word down too. I gotta do some research.
That's what it is. It's really that's all it is, or as my mom and dad used to say, oh, you just lusting after her.
Mm, mm.
And then my mom said, let me tell you something. It's all the same, but just a different name.
Ooh, I like that one. All the same, but just a different
And I'm
name. I like.
like, yeah. And it is. My dad said, don't look at me. So I'm like, yeah, okay, but I mean, they try to, like I said, they try to warn me and lead me down the right road and do better. But you know how it is. You don't want to listen to nobody because you think everybody's wrong or they don't want you to be happy, and that's not it.
Mm, wow. I'm at a loss of words. You said it right there. Wow. But for real, stop calling it love when it's
Yeah,
really just fear dressed in generosity. I'm just speaking from experience. Like when you're afraid to be alone, I remember having a conversation with my mentor as I was going through a breakup. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, you're going to get up and you're going to take responsibility for this situation right here in this moment. You don't need this. You think you do at this moment, but you don't need this. And trust and believe that once you get through this and you look back,
yeah,
You're gonna be like, oh, I get it. When we caught up, when our emotions are high, intelligence goes out the window. When emotions are high, our intelligence goes out the window and we're not thinking clearly. And we think that this is all that we deserve. We think that this is all that we can get. We think that this is all that we are. When intelligence are high, excuse me, when emotions are high, intelligence goes out the window. We're not thinking clearly. When you're wrapped up and you're trapped up and you're in some toxic situation and you're in situations that don't serve you, it doesn't work well. Your intelligence is gone. You don't know who you are. So, like you said in the beginning, take some time, step back, unplug, stop swiping, stop scrolling, get to know who you are. Then you're going to realize that what you thought was love wasn't. Leave it at that. Leave it.
You said it. You said it all right there.
Mm. I'm gonna tell you, this is a great show tonight. I appreciate your input. I appreciate your collaboration. You always come with some good insight, and I gotta give it to you. I could not do this without you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know what? That's why when you send me what it's be about, I do. I don't wait till the last day. I read it each day, like once a day, and then like yesterday, I read it like twice, and then today I did. I read it twice, and because I said I wanted, I like to say this the correct thing, because like a lot of these things that we talked about, I've been through it. I've done it, and you know what? It's not fun.
No, it's not. And okay, so just like you said, you've been through it and it's not fun. I'm waiting for somebody to write something that ain't something that I've been through.
Yeah,
I'm waiting
I
for
know it.
somebody to write something and I'll be like, all right, okay. But you know what?
But like I said, that's why I said everybody plays a fool sometimes, and that just clicked on. I'm like, man, you know what? Because when I was in high school, that song came out, and people, I used to see people walking down. I didn't know what it meant at the time.
That's how it always is. All these songs, I go back and I'm like, all right, now I know what this means. Here I was singing a song, jamming to
Yeah,
it, rocking to it, didn't even know what it meant, but now it means so much more to me today that I'm older. I'm like, man, I didn't even know what I was singing, what I was doing, but now I get it.
exactly. Exactly. And I feel the same way all the time. I'll be like, wow, man, I was getting this message back then
And didn't
when
know
I
what.
was young, and I didn't know anything. I thought I did.
Right, right. Didn't know why. But
Yeah.
that's what you call a timeless classic when it resonates. And it's like that song by the main ingredient, Everybody Plays a Fool. I know what it was. I just didn't know the artist, the group that sung it. But
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And that, you know what the funny is, these what I was saying, these songs here, it came to me today. So that's why I said, okay, yeah, I know I'm gonna be ready for the show, and I'm gonna pop these names to him, just so that even if he doesn't know them, at least he can go back, and I like to give the group name also. So therefore, you can like, I'm gonna go and check this out. And if
Well,
you want to go check it out, you have that opportunity.
I'm about to, as we close it up, I'm going to name these records here. I know I got to speak about my correction with the emergency fund too. Uh, I'm
Okay.
wrap this thing up, but what is it that you want to go ahead and close us up with tonight? And want you to let us know where we can follow you at. Anything new that you have going on, just let us know as we close this show up here tonight.
Yeah, okay. I have books on Amazon, amazon.com/author/Birdman313. I have 10 poetry books. And like I tell people, my both poetry books, they're mostly they're mostly nature. I can say mostly all of them is nature, except for street poems. Street poem is about the streets, but it's no profanity in it. You won't. I think it's one poem that I don't know how that word slipped through, but it does. But most of you won't hear me say any profanity in my poems because I try to make my poems relaxing and uplifting. I'm also on Goodreads.com/Birdman313. I'm on Instagram, author poet Birdman 31355. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/author poet Birdman 31355, all one word. I'm also on Spotify, and it's on the Coffee, Wine, and Words platform. I have 10 videos that they have accepted on there. This weekend is a full schedule for me. A Sunday I'm doing it's called APS or Austin Poetry Society. That's on Zoom. Then Saturday evening I'm reading at um, oh, I don't know why I can't think of the name. It's out in Sugarland. It's a wine.
Mm.
It's Imperial. It's Imperial wine. And a friend of mine, he plays the guitar while I read a few poems. And we're doing that. We're doing that Saturday night at from 7 to 9, and then Sunday I'm back on Zoom. So a lot of my things, and well, tonight after I get off of here, LA Poetry Society. I've been going on there regular. They've been coming on. So they let me come on there. Sometimes they let me talk. Sometimes they let me read a poem. A lot of times, I sit back and I listen to the guests they have. But they already told me anytime I'm out there, let them know. And they said you're always welcome to come out here because I've read with some of the people from there, either with LA Poetry Society or at different event venues out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about it. And I just hey man, you got to keep your head up and just think, hey, like I was always told, life is not a rose garden. You got thorns that's gonna be in the way, and they will stick you.
Wow, wow, wow. I like that. And you listen, I'm writing the Imperial Garden. Now, when I come out there next year, I want you to remember that. And I saw the video. You sent me the clip of it, of you reading the poetry and your friend playing. So
Yeah,
definitely want to check that out when I come out there. I'm putting all of this out there right now.
yeah.
Putting
We do it. He does a pizza place. I've done that one time with him because at first one lady said he was going to be a regular, so he said, "Well, he said, hey, I'm gonna be out here. You can come out here." I'm like, "Yeah, okay," but then I don't know, something happened. But then this last time, I don't know if it was a fill-in, but he does that. It's Double Dave Pizza, so whenever he's there, I'll be there reading. So that's something too. It's not every month, but it's whenever they need somebody, and he'll let me know. He let me know in advance.
yeah, yeah. Next year, 2026, Texas.
Yes.
I'm coming out there. We're going to the Imperial. What was it? The Imperial Garden.
Imperial wine.
Imperial wine. We're going to the
Yeah.
Imperial wine. I'm putting out there that atmosphere. Yes, 2026. I'm telling you. When I
And
start
you
to
know
work,
what? Yeah.
yeah,
And even if we're not doing anything, I take you out there. Because, like I said, man, just make sure you have that plastic ready to spin. Because you go, hey, man, they got all types of wine there.
that sounds
All types.
awesome. That sounds awesome. That will definitely be one of the highlights.
And see, yeah, it was last month. We were supposed to have Red out there, and they had a wine testing party going on the inside, and we was gonna do outside, but because of the weather, we had to cancel it.
Mm,
So
mm,
it's this is June, and then probably August. It's every other month that we do Imperial wine. So
that's awesome. Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining again. And of course, I will see you next week, same place, same time.
yep, yep.
And you have a
for
good
sure.
evening. You have a good
You
evening.
do the same. And I just want to say thank you, man, for allowing me to come over here and speak. And I'm just sorry. Hey, you know what? It was just it was so much I wanted to say. That's why I felt like I was tie tongue because it was so much I wanted to say to this young lady, but I kept getting kind of
No,
tie tongue about it, and I just wanted to come out not as a father figure or a counseling figure, but just someone letting her know the things that she need to do to get her life back on track.
I totally understand. I got you. I got you. All right, sir. I will talk to you next week. Thank you so much, and take care and enjoy that nice weather out there.
You do the same.
All right, take care now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That was my friend, author Birdman 313. I guess to wrap this up, he definitely nailed it. I wrote it down. Mind twisting. This was a mind twisting event tonight, but a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of information. This was a great show tonight. Now, I did say that I'm going to scale back based off of my conversation last night, and I wanted to give you some information on emergency fund, but I'm going to do that. But before I do that, I want to list all of the songs that we discussed, and I want to exit us out of here. So I listen. We spoke us. I spoke about Usher, Caught Up. I spoke about Dr. Dre. What's the difference? I wanted to make sure I try to name all of these. What was going through my mind this whole entire night? Of course, my girl Mary J. Blige. Whole damn year. You ain't the only one. Still believe in love. Keep your head to the sky. And I think that is Earth, Wind, and Fire. Main ingredient, everybody plays a fool. Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it? Fool in Love. And that's just scratching the surface. We named so many records. Pink, What About Us? Which I got to go back and listen to. I know the song, but I just don't know the melody. So much going on here tonight. It's so mind boggling, so mystical, and like Birdman says, so mind twisting. This is what happens when you come into the 4-1 podcast and reading between the wines. This was a great example of what you get. So thank you, Birdman, for that. I definitely do appreciate you. So the emergency fund. I spoke yesterday about most Americans don't have $1,000 in their bank account to cover an emergency. And what I said is in the day and the era that we're in the trying times that we're in, the $1,000 of what it used to be doesn't work anymore. So now to have a starter emergency fund, that's what I should have said yesterday. A starter emergency fund used to be $1,000, but to start your emergency fund is about $2,000 in the era that we're living in right now. There are three types of emergency funds. You can have high risk, you can have medium risk, and you can have low risk. Before I get into high, medium, low, I want to talk about what an emergency fund is. An emergency fund is exactly that, an emergency. Your car breaks down, you have a major home repair, you have an accident, somebody gets injured, somebody is hospitalized. It's a 911 emergency, an expense that you were not planning on. This is not your car payment. This is not your water bill. This is not your property taxes. All of those things come around the same time, same date, quarterly, annually, whatever the case may be. And we need to be good managers of our money and budget accordingly and allocate for that. That's not what an emergency is. An emergency is you wake up and life happens. You didn't expect this to happen. You didn't expect to get into a car accident. You didn't expect someone to break their arm. You didn't expect an unexpected emergency where someone needs to be hospitalized. You didn't expect your hot water heater to break. You didn't expect your microwave to bust. You didn't expect your refrigerator to break down. When life happens, that's an emergency. This is what this is for. The emergency fund is not because we want the latest and greatest fashion. The emergency fund is not because we want the Jordans, we want the TVs, we want the vacations, we want the cars, we want the jewelry. That's not what the emergency fund is for. It's for strictly an emergency fund. We only save and allocate and deploy for a specific emergency. Now that we have that under control, yesterday I didn't get into detail. I just spoke about what a starter emergency fund is. So to start off, since I said most Americans don't have $1,000 in their bank account allocated for an emergency, we can start. We can start today. And how we can start is start to save, whether you save $20, $50, whatever the case may be, to get you up to a starter minimum amount. The minimum nowadays is $2,000. Back in the day, it was $1,000. But in the state of the world that we're in today, it's about $2,000. That's a minimum. Now we're going to talk about the max, which would be a fully funded emergency fund. If you are high risk, younger people, 20s, 30s, you might want to float in this range of a high risk. You can afford, if you lose your job, if something happens, if life happens, you'll be able to bounce back versus somebody who is older. When you're younger, you can afford the risk. 3 months of your monthly expenses. 3 months of your monthly expenses. You are going to sit down and you are going to add up what it costs to make your world go round. Every expense, everything that you spent, calculate it for the last 3 months. After you do that, that's what your total emergency fund should be. Medium risk, we're going to do 6 months. If you're a little bit older and you can't bounce back that quick, we're going to do 12 months. So you're going to need to do a little work. You're going to need to do a little research. How much does it take for you to live per month? Times that by 3, times it by 6, times it by 12, and you figure out what works best for you. High risk, you're a little younger, you can bounce back, you can shake and move. If somebody tells you that this is the end of the rope, you might only need to save 3 months in your emergency fund. If you want to play in the middle, you don't not quite sure, you might be in your 40s, 50s, I get it. 6 months is great. A little older, played the game before, you understand, you know what the risks are, you know that there's peaks and valleys, and you might not be able to bounce back. It might be harder for you to get a job. You might want to sit around the 12 months of your monthly expenses. That's the equivalent of emergency fund. Yesterday, I just scratched the surface. I only spoke about what it creates to start one. I didn't get into the full details of the 3 months to 6 months to 12 months. Hopefully that helps. It just didn't sit right with me yesterday. When I spoke about it, I felt that I didn't deliver the message properly, and I wanted to come back tonight and clean that up a little bit. That's just a little bit of a preview of what you would get if you decided to come to the coaching sessions. Again, here I am focusing on debt-free living from a spiritual, mental, physical, and financial aspect. Your situation might be different from the next. Again, I might be speaking to somebody who wants to focus on a 3-month emergency fund versus somebody who needs 12 months. We can't compare. You can go to LarenGaines.com. You can sign up for the free 15-minute consultation, and we can sit down and we can discuss what works best for you. What does your situation look like versus the next? During that process, we can go into a discovery session, a deep dive intensive session where we go ahead and we dig a little bit deeper and we start to figure out where you stand, where you want to be, where you want to go, where you want to grow. All of that's at LarenGaines.com. Sign up for that free 15-minute consultation. I'm going to pause. I want to say thank you so much for joining. Please go ahead and share this video. We're getting ready to wrap up. Thank you so much. While you're at LarenGaines.com, you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter, which is Whispers of Wisdom. awesome inspirational, motivational content centered around debt-free living delivered to your inbox once a month. You're going to get debt-free living from the lens of spiritual, mental, physical, and financial. You can also follow me on any of my social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, DLive, Twitch, Daily Motion. Everything is at Laren Gaines. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody out there who's joined, who's still rocking with me, who's still rolling after all of this time. This is a movement. This is an experience. And for those of you out there, you might have any questions. You might want to chime in. You may be a little nervous. I get it. DM me, text me, email me. I have a great way of making anything anonymous if you don't want yourself to be put out there like that. I get it. Been there, done that. Let me know how you feel. LarenGaines.com. Very special thank you to author Birdman313. I definitely do appreciate you. We have Spiritual Sundays, Mental Mondays, Transformational Tuesdays, Wind Down Wednesday, Coaching Sessions Thursdays, and Financial Fridays. Come back, daily content posted very randomly across all of my social media platforms. So check me out on different ones. We have different things posted. You never know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it. This wine here, as I close up this show, I will tell you, at first, I will say that I was sort of like, that's good. I've definitely had some specific wines here that I would never sample again. This one I was unsure, but I did tell you that I will let you know towards the end of the show how I felt about it. I feel that in a casual setting, at a party, if you're drinking, having a casual drink, this does the trick. I did end up drinking half of the bottle. Let's just keep it real. I did. It was just so smooth, though, that it worked so well. There's some wines that I absolutely would not touch again. And with it being 13%, it's just a different feel. It's not like a complete bite where I'm sort of out of my realm, especially with drinking half of the bottle, which would probably be about maybe 2.5 glasses of wine. Awesome. I definitely would recommend this, especially at a little gathering. It's not harsh. It's just right. Vina San Esteban Reserve Sauvignon Blanc from Central Valley Wine of Chile. It did its thing. So on that note, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you, Birdman313. Thank you, everybody out there who joins. Please put it in the comments. Let me know how you feel about tonight's show. DM me, text me, let me know how you feel. Check out the burning questions. And on that note, I will see you when I see you. Take care. Thank you so much.
5,
Have a good night.
4, 3, 2, 1. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the 411 podcast and Reading Between the Wines, where growth is always on the menu, and every pour reveals a little more truth. The conversation doesn't end here. Have something to say? Want to weigh in on tonight's burning questions? Text us anytime at the official 411 podcast and Reading Between the Wines hotline at 609-200-1098. Stay plugged in across all social media platforms at Laren Gaines. We're live and in the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, DLive, Twitch, and Daily Motion. Prefer to listen on the go? The audio version is streaming on most major podcast outlets. Until we meet again, take what you've learned, sip slow, speak truth, and remember, transformation starts within. Powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network.